6 June 1944. Dawn broke slowly over the English Channel, cold and uncertain. As the low growl of engines rolled across the water, Dwight D Eisenhower stood awake before sunrise, holding a folded note in his hand, feeling the crushing weight of nations. The note admitted failure in advance, a private confession, written to outrun blame if everything collapsed. Across the water waited France, occupied and scarred, demanding movement instead of mercy. Eisenhower understood speed from bitter memory, having watched Europe fall fast when hesitation proved fatal. German armor in 10 May 1940 had moved like weather, overwhelming plans, erasing time, and breaking will. Now America prepared to answer that lesson, not with patience, but with relentless velocity. Factories roared back home, ports overflowed with ships, and clocks ruled every decision. Speed promised shorter wars, fewer casualties, and control over chaos. Yet on that morning, speed felt cruel and personal, measured in breath, blood, and fear. Every minute lost meant German reserves moving, roads tightening, and choices disappearing. Eisenhower knew once momentum was unleashed, it could not be recalled, only endured. The war was entering an age where speed decided fate, before victory ever felt certain. What followed would prove how fast America could move, and how many it would crush along the way. On the beaches ahead, young soldiers would learn speed as terror, not theory. For them, history would arrive without pause, driven by engines and unforgiving orders. By 7 June 1944, the beaches were secured, but the clock had turned hostile, ticking against every American decision. Eisenhower studied maps in Normandy, lines trembling under his fingers, knowing speed now mattered more than numbers. The enemy was wounded, not broken, and German divisions were already moving through France's narrow arteries. Every delay allowed steel and men to regroup, hardening resistance ahead. American commanders pushed forward aggressively, believing momentum itself could shatter defense. Roads clogged with armor, trucks, and exhausted infantry, all racing the same invisible enemy, time. Villages fell quickly, sometimes without warning, sometimes under thunderous force. Civilians watched columns roar past, liberation arriving at terrifying speed. Speed rewarded boldness, but punished friction. Supplies lagged behind advancing units, fuel ran thin, and coordination fractured under pressure. Radio orders blurred, maps aged by the hour, and junior officers made life-or-death choices alone. Mistakes multiplied, not from weakness, but from velocity. In hedgerows outside St. Lo, soldiers learned how fast progress could stall. Dense terrain slowed armor, ambushes erupted suddenly, and casualties spiked without warning. Men were ordered forward anyway, because stopping meant surrendering initiative. Speed had become doctrine, not option. Eisenhower sensed the danger growing. The faster America moved, the harder it became to control consequences. Yet slowing down felt impossible, almost immoral. With victory seemingly within reach, the war no longer allowed balance, only acceleration. Speed had opened the door to Europe. Now it threatened to decide who survived walking through it. By 14 June 1944, the push inland tightened. Roads narrowing, nerves thinning, and orders growing sharper. American columns surged through Normandy, hedgerows scraping steel, engines overheating, men barely sleeping. Speed demanded sacrifice, and the first offering was clarity. Units advanced faster than maps could update, faster than supply officers could breathe. Fuel became gold, ammunition became prayer, and time became judge. Truck drivers raced under artillery fire, knowing one delay could freeze an entire front. Infantry pushed ahead anyway, because stopping felt worse than dying. Speed rewarded motion, not caution. German resistance stiffened as expected, but chaos multiplied unexpectedly. Friendly fire incidents rose. Airstrikes missed targets, and confusion killed quietly. Decisions once made by generals now landed on lieutenants. Hands shaking, radios screaming. Velocity flattened hierarchy. In the town of Corentin, street fighting erupted suddenly, brutal and intimate. Soldiers moved too fast to mourn, too fast to understand faces behind doors. Liberation blurred into destruction, gratitude mixed with terror. Speed erased pauses where humanity once lived. Eisenhower received reports late into the night. Victories stacked beside grim numbers. Progress looked impressive on paper, horrifying in detail. He understood now, slowing down risked defeat. But speeding up risked something deeper. Control itself was slipping. The American war machine, built for movement, could not easily shift into restraint. Every mile gained demanded another mile, faster than before. Momentum became addiction. By the end of the week, Normandy was cracking open. And with it, the illusion that speed came without cost. By 20 June 1944, the Normandy front stretched thin. Victory stacking forward. Costs bleeding quietly behind. American armor finally broke through the hedgerows. Steel surging into open ground. Speed returning like a released storm. Commanders celebrated movement, believing space itself would crush resistance. The faster they moved, the safer they felt. But speed created shadows. Supply lines lengthened dangerously. Fuel trucks lagged miles behind. And wounded men waited longer than promised. Field hospitals overflowed, surgeons racing clocks they could not slow. Momentum ignored pain. German forces fell back unevenly, some collapsing, others regrouping fast enough to bite. Ambushes struck flanks suddenly, columns burned. And confusion spread faster than orders. Maps showed arrows, not bodies. Speed hid consequences until too late. In the skies, American aircraft dominated, striking roads and railways relentlessly. Bombs fell ahead of advancing troops, villages erased in seconds. Civilians fleeing without warning. Liberation arrived too quickly to prepare for. Survival became instinct. Eisenhower sensed a dangerous imbalance forming. Success encouraged acceleration. Acceleration discouraged reflection. And reflection felt like weakness. Every mile gained demanded two more, faster than before. Stopping meant doubt. Officers pushed units forward despite exhaustion, believing speed itself was protection. Men marched with blistered feet, hollow eyes, and fading patience. Orders came faster than understanding. The war pressed on. By late June, America was winning ground rapidly. It was also learning, too late, that speed devoured those who could not keep up. By 25 June 1944, the push across Normandy became relentless. Engines roaring, boots pounding, and the land trembling beneath American momentum. Every commander knew speed was now both weapon and risk. A knife edge between victory and disaster. Fuel shortages and long convoys stretched thin lines like fragile thread. Soldiers felt it in their lungs, in aching muscles. In the constant hum of trucks and tanks. Orders came faster than messages could travel. Radios crackled with confusion. And decisions were made in split seconds. The faster America moved, the more it demanded of its people. And the harder mistakes fell. In the countryside around Cherbourg, advancing units collided with hidden German pockets. Ambushes erupted, roads became death traps. And the wounded waited longer than anyone could calculate. Yet stopping was unthinkable. Momentum itself had become morality. Eisenhower watched reports stack across his desk. Maps dotted with progress and disaster alike. He understood that every mile gained now carried invisible cost. A toll measured in exhaustion, fear, and blurred judgment. Speed had opened the door to France. But it also threatened to tear apart the men walking through it. Logistics officers ran tirelessly, tracking fuel, food, and ammunition. Always racing forward, never resting. Supply trains were lifelines, moving at a frantic pace to keep up with advancing columns. Without them, speed would collapse into chaos. By the end of June, America had carved significant swaths of territory. The world saw headlines of rapid victory. But behind those lines, every second had been bought with strain, suffering, and relentless motion. Ambushes struck flanks suddenly, columns burned. And confusion spread faster than orders. Maps showed arrows, not bodies. Speed hid consequences until too late. In the skies, American aircraft dominated, striking roads and railways relentlessly. Bombs fell ahead of advancing troops, villages erased in seconds. Civilians fleeing without warning. Liberation arrived too quickly to prepare for. Survival became instinct. Eisenhower sensed a dangerous imbalance forming. Success encouraged acceleration. Acceleration discouraged reflection. And reflection felt like weakness. Every mile gained demanded two more, faster than before. Stopping meant doubt. Officers pushed units forward despite exhaustion, believing speed itself was protection. Men marched with blistered feet, hollow eyes, and fading patience. Orders came faster than understanding. The war pressed on. By late June, America was winning ground rapidly. It was also learning, too late, that speed devoured those who could not keep up. By 25 June 1944, the push across Normandy became relentless. Engines roaring, boots pounding, and the land trembling beneath American momentum. Every commander knew speed was now both weapon and risk. A knife edge between victory and disaster. Fuel shortages and long convoys stretched thin lines like fragile thread. Soldiers felt it in their lungs, in aching muscles, in the constant hum of trucks and tanks. Orders came faster than messages could travel. Radios crackled with confusion, and decisions were made in split seconds. The faster America moved, the more it demanded of its people. And the harder mistakes fell. In the countryside around Cherbourg, advancing units collided with hidden German pockets. Ambushes erupted, roads became death traps. And the wounded waited longer than anyone could calculate. Yet stopping was unthinkable. Momentum itself had become morality. Eisenhower watched reports stack across his desk. Maps dotted with progress and disaster alike. He understood that every mile gained now carried invisible cost. A toll measured in exhaustion, fear, and blurred judgment. Speed had opened the door to France, but it also threatened to tear apart the men walking through it. Logistics officers ran tirelessly, tracking fuel, food, and ammunition. Always racing forward, never resting. Supply trains were lifelines, moving at a frantic pace to keep up with advancing columns. Without them, speed would collapse into chaos. By the end of June, America had carved significant swaths of territory. The world saw headlines of rapid victory. But behind those lines, every second had been bought with strain, suffering, and relentless motion. By 10th July 1944, the Americans poured into the countryside beyond St. Lo. Roads clogged with armor, trucks, and infantry. The rhythm of motion unbroken. Eisenhower's maps were alive with arrows, numbers, and red zones, each representing progress, peril, or both. The faster the forces moved, the more tenuous their hold on reality became. Supply lines stretched thin, stretching human patience. Vehicles groaning under relentless loads. Communication fractured under pressure. Radios crackled with confusion, orders arriving too late. Too vague, too dangerous. Every decision demanded courage, speed, and tolerance for chaos. German resistance had weakened but was far from broken. Striking sporadically, exploiting every misstep. Proving that speed could not replace judgment. Troops moved faster than terrain allowed. Faster than maps could track. Faster than exhaustion could be endured. Every push forward exacted a cost unseen. A toll paid in fatigue, fear, and fleeting clarity. Civilians fled villages in panic. Soldiers pressed forward in disciplined urgency. And Eisenhower watched from afar, aware that acceleration had become as dangerous as it was vital. Speed had opened doors into France, but it was now a relentless force, shaping lives, victories, and losses alike. By 12th July 1944, the Americans had advanced further than anyone had expected. And the war itself had become a race against time, endurance, and the limits of men. By 15th July 1944, American forces had carved a jagged path across Normandy, moving faster than supply lines could follow, faster than towns could recover, faster than nerves could endure. Eisenhower, watching reports pour in, understood the paradox fully. Every acceleration brought control and chaos simultaneously. Tanks and trucks thundered forward, infantry struggled behind. Medics and logistics teams racing to keep pace. Speed was now doctrine, driving victory and danger together. Roads became lifelines, but also traps. A single ambush could paralyze entire columns. Decisions that once took hours now had to be made in moments. With incomplete information and human limits stretched thin, German defenders struck unpredictably, using the terrain and delays to their advantage. Friendly fire incidents increased, supply shortages pressed, and exhaustion haunted every step. Yet stopping, pausing, or slowing down was unthinkable. Momentum had become morality, survival, and strategy all at once. By late July, America had advanced deep into Normandy. Victory stacking ahead, casualties mounting quietly behind. The war had become a test of speed, endurance, and the human capacity to keep moving forward under impossible pressure. By 20 July 1944, the Americans pushed further. The landscape around them scarred and burning. Roads jammed with tanks, trucks, and exhausted infantry. Eisenhower studied maps in silence. Knowing the next moves demanded more than courage, they demanded relentless speed. Every mile gained stretched supply lines, tested nerves, and blurred the line between victory and disaster. German forces were fragmented. Yet pockets of resistance struck hard, ambushing convoys, slowing columns, and proving that speed alone could not secure safety. Soldiers pressed forward anyway, driven by orders, momentum, and the fear of falling behind. Supply officers raced to keep pace, transporting fuel, ammunition, and food through roads that seemed too narrow for the weight they carried. Civilians fled as engines roared past, witnessing liberation as a violent, unstoppable force. Every town captured brought relief and destruction in equal measure, showing that speed reshaped not just battlefields, but lives. By 25 July 1944, the Americans had advanced deeper into France than anyone could have expected. Yet each victory carried hidden costs. Speed had become America's deadliest advantage, and also its most relentless demand. By 30 July 1944, the push across Normandy was nearing its climax. American forces had carved open France with unprecedented speed, advancing faster than German defenses could react. Eisenhower understood that the war had entered a new phase. Success was now measured by momentum, not just courage or firepower. Supply lines strained to the breaking point, radios screamed with orders, and troops pressed onward despite fatigue, fear, and loss. Every mile gained required precise coordination, yet the faster they moved, the more unpredictable the consequences became. Civilians, soldiers, and commanders alike felt the human cost of relentless acceleration. Speed had become a weapon, a doctrine, and a test of endurance. The faster America moved, the deadlier it became, for both the enemy and those tasked with carrying the war forward. By the end of July, the Americans had reshaped the battlefield, proving that velocity, above all else, had become their defining advantage. And yet, with every advance, every mile gained, the lesson remained clear: speed could win battles, but it could also consume everything in its path, leaving only those who could endure its relentless pace.